What kind of a world do we want to live in? This podcast opens the difficult and uncomfortable conversations about crime, addiction, poverty, and more. If we want a healthier community, these messy conversations need to happen. This is Dangerous Ideas for Social Change. All right, we're in this really strange moment. For those of you who've been tuning in to Dangerous Ideas for Social Change, I'm in this really interesting moment where we had the Strategy and Business Director, Business Development Director for One Voice join us.
Yeah.
And that's Sherri Sanjurjo.
Hey!
Just stopped in to pay me a visit. And there was some kind of dragon energy in the room. And so we said, let's do a podcast.
We did.
And so with literally no preparation, we're doing it raw.
Yeah.
This is we don't even know where this is going to go.
We'll see how it
so
goes.
This could be the most dangerous conversation we've ever had because we literally don't know. It's loaded, and here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome here, Shirley. Tell us a little bit about why are we here. How did you get here? Give us a little bit of a story of your story and One Voice and One Team.
Okay, so first and foremost, Lee, thank you for having us. Thank you for calling us and saying, come on back. We came
summoned
here.
them back. They were actually gone already, and we said, get back here.
And we was like, turn around. They want us to come back right now. I loved our conversation. It's so rare to actually find someone that you can actually genuinely, authentically, right off the bat, connect with. Mm-hmm. And I felt that kindred. I walked out of your office and I was like, kindred spirit. God bless him.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that, first and foremostly. So my name is Sherri Sanjurjo. I am the Strategy and Business Development Director at One Voice, One Team. I grew up in New York City. I grew up in the South Bronx. My mother was a prostitute and alcoholic. My father was a heroin addict. My older brother used to beat me almost every day till about the age of 9. My younger brother looked to me to be mommy. And so I grew up as you would call an inner city youth. Who had a lot of abuse, neglect, abandonment. My mother was hardly around at the time. Mm-hmm. But the crazy thing is my mom was raised by her father and then raised as a Christian and then went to a Bible college. She left New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. So my mom's from Nova Scotia. No, where's she going? Where's she going?
Where's this going to go?
She went from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. She went to Rhode Island, and she went to a Bible college. And from there, she went from there to Connecticut. She worked for the Council of Churches for years. Then she went from there to New Jersey to New York City. Met my father. It was a train wreck. They met in church. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Both of them trying to find their way out of the mess they were in.
Probably been a few train wrecks that started in church. But anyhow.
For sure. So they were trying to, there was blind leading the blind. God bless their hearts. They both meant well. They were trying to help each other, but it didn't work out. But I was born. And so I was born in New York City in the Bronx. Grew up there till I was 10. My mother started to see myself, my older brother, my younger brother, growing in a very cold-hearted way. It was the 70s. It was the South Bronx. A lot of, Black Panthers were a big thing back then. 5%ers. Malcolm X got, Martin Luther King just got shot. Everybody was like on edge. Mm-hmm. And so she had known, being brought up in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, very small town, not even Halifax. And she just knew a different way of being a child. And she was like, you're not growing up like children should. We're going back to Canada. And so she took us up in the middle of the night, threw us on a train, and just brought us, and she ran out of money. So we ended up in Toronto. We were going to Montreal, but we ended up in Toronto, and I grew up in Toronto since I was 10. And I was one of those young people that, you would try to save because I was out there. I raised myself for a very long time. My mom did rehabilitate, by the way. She did.
Thank God.
She did. She got back to God. Mm-hmm. She went back to her roots, and God. She told me that it was in a prayer meeting one day. We got into this building. This lady invited her. Why don't you come to my prayer meeting? And when I heard the conversation, I got excited because as a child, even though my life was full of so much turmoil and trauma, God was always present in my life. I always knew he was real, and I always knew he was with me.
What I find so amazing is there's so many amazing people that they tell me a story and it starts out with this really sad kind of a start to things, and then somehow God does something beautiful with that terrible thing.
Yeah.
And so it's such a surprise. Okay, here you are, the director doing wonderful things in Toronto and reaching into a community that's very needy. How did you not just become bitter, Sherri?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like all my life there's been this little voice in the back of my head, there's more. There's more. I didn't know what the more was, but I was very hungry to find out what it was. So even when I went to high school, and in my hood, there's a place called Jungle. I grew up in Jungle in Toronto, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go to this school. Everybody else goes to the school. I'm going to sign this little paper and forge my mother's name and go to a school outside my hood. And so I always saw that there was more, and I wanted to see more, and I felt like I think I deserved more, but I just didn't know what the more was. So I was always fighting for more.
And so is it sort of an assumption, or is it safe to say that you're now fighting for more for other people?
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes. And so when I was growing up, and the young people that would come around me, I don't know why, I was just always like, there is more to life than what we're doing right now. Like, there is more to life than just hanging out or just drinking or just gang banging. I was in a gang for a while. There's more to life than this. And I always felt that way. And I was always trying to convince others. And I kept on growing, and opportunities were given to me and I'm grateful for them, but because they were allowing me to see there is more, and there's more in you, Sherri. And so I started tapping into, because I started in the relationships that I was connecting, seeing my mirrored reflection in other people that would allow me to see myself in them, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So they'd say things like, Sherri, you could do this. And I'm like, really? I didn't know I had that skill set, or I didn't know. And so I started to see that, to the point where I started motivationally speaking accidentally. I didn't mean to, but I was asked, "What, can you come and speak to my class?" And then now when I see young people now, I'm like, oh, I know why you feel this way, or I know. So the hardship that I went through, I'm so grateful for it, because it's been able to allow me to have connection to young people that I see that feel lost, that feel like they don't have gifts, talents, brilliance. And I'm like, it's in there. You just have to dig a little bit. You've got to let me be the mirror for you then, Talk
to me about, so when these people were around you and starting to see in you that you could do more. Talk to me about the profile on who were those people.
Miss B. I could tell you the first
one person.
She was my principal. I was 8 years old. She asked me to memorize a Langston Hughes poem. I'll never forget her. She changed my life. I used to come to school. I looked hungry. I looked like I was dehydrated. I looked like my hair was a mess. I'm half black, half Puerto Rican, so my hair sometimes is curly, sometimes it looks confused. My hair looked confused. And she would see me come to school, and she would say, hold on, little mama, I'm going to let you go over here. Miss Tanya's going to comb your hair, and then you can come into class. And she used to do things. I'm going to give you a little cookie and milk, and then you can come into class, because she really wanted me to focus. And she knew I couldn't if I was being bullied or made fun of, or if I was hungry. And so she asked me to memorize this Langston Hughes poem. I didn't even know what memorization was. I said, memorize? What that mean? And she said, I said, memorize. I said, that's what I said. It was just this back and forth thing.
Right.
Eventually, she asked me to recite it with a friend of my classmate of mine in front of people. And I'd never done that before. And it was in the midst of a really hard time, because I wanted my mother to come. My mother said she was going to come. And then last minute, she just dropped me. She said, child, I'm not going nowhere with you. So Miss B was standing in front of me, a little kid. I was 8 years old. I thought my mother was going to come and see me do something great that Miss B had said I could do, that I didn't even know I could do. And now I'm going to do it. Come on, mommy, show me. Let me show you that I'm lovable. Let me show you that I've got good things in me that you didn't even know about. Miss B knew about it, but you didn't know about it. And I just wanted her to see it. And she kind of left me, and I was like, and I was crushed. And Miss B said 3 things to me that to this day I utilize every day, and especially when I'm speaking to young people and in a position to impact them. She said, it's okay, little mama. I believe in you. You can do it. She just kept on saying the same 3 lines. And at one point I was like, why does she keep on saying that? She wasn't saying, behave yourself, because I was in the back seat and she was driving me to this place and I was supposed to recite this with my friend, and I was in the back and I was hurt. And I was like, I don't care about this. And I was just going off. And she was like, it's okay, little mama. I believe in you. You can do this. And she kept on saying it over and over. And because she had taken care of me, she had combed my hair, or she had told somebody to comb my hair, she had given me milk and cookies, she had looked after me in a way that not even my own mother did. And then on top of it, told me that I could do something I didn't even know I could do. That mirror that she gave me in seeing myself pushed me in a position to see, oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm worthy of something. Maybe there is something that I have called talent or skill or an ability. And so we went out there and we would sing, I Dream a World. We grabbed the mic and we were like supposed to be, reciting this sweet little poem, but it didn't sound like a sweet little poem because I was very hurt. So it came across very aggressive, and this is the 70s and people are looking at us and they were like, oh my gosh, these children are so passionate. And I was like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was just like giving this poem. But afterwards we got a standing ovation. Now I was broken walking onto that stage because my mother had just left me once again. Ms. B was there saying, it's okay, little mama, I believe in you. You can do this. And she said it with so much conviction that I had to say, does she know something I don't know? Like, does she see something in me? It looked like that. But again, that thing out here in the world that I just don't know. I know there's something there, but I don't know what it is. She allowed me. So that was one instance. And the next day I found out that it was a poetry contest that we won first prize. She came in and gave me and Pierre, my dear friend, my classmate, she gave us these little trophies. You might as well should have said, the Oscar goes to. Like,
it was a big day for you.
Absolutely. And so because of that moment, I've said to every young person I've ever met and encountered, there's more in you. You don't see it yet, but there's more in you. And if we talk a little bit more and we get to know each other a little bit more, I might be able to shine that light for you. Or maybe you'd be able to hear something in my voice and in my story that might be the mirror that you need to see.
So Miss B's voice into your life somehow birthed something that you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And I want to hear about how that gift that Miss B gave you, how you've been just kind of returning that gift into your community. Talk about what you're speaking into the lives of youth in Toronto now.
Since that time, I've developed programs like my nickname's Diamond. So Diamond Girls is a self-esteem mentorship program that runs in anywhere there is young people that need self-esteem mentorship. You need to understand your worth. We're running this program. It's in assemblies. It's in when we're training our staff and helping, because a lot of our staff are very Gen Z. We hire a lot of young people. A lot of young people come through One Voice, One Team as students and then come back to volunteer and then come back and want a job because they have been so impacted with our space that we call a safe and brave space for them to find their most authentic voice, that they want to keep on coming back because this is the safe space and the brave space I can be. So even within our staff, I'm pouring in that same thing that Ms. B, I just do it in different ways. So it might be a training workshop, or it might be just a meeting where I'm coaching our staff to be able to see beyond just the problematic behaviors of our young people that you're now serving. It's not just a problem here. It's not just go beyond that. There's a wound there. Now let's minister to that wound, right? That's what we're doing right now.
There's a Bible passage that talks about that we are to comfort others with the comfort that we have received. Yeah, and it sounds like that sort of that early childhood, that person that believed in you, offered you comfort, and you haven't just sort of held it to yourself. You've decided to give it, and
it's a responsibility I feel I have to give.
And to hear again, I'm always encouraged. I know it's really important around here, is that we want to see young people not only receive but also give their gift. Yes. And I think this is sort of something that is sort of in sharp contrast to a lot of what people are thinking about youth. When they think about people that are, kids in a community where poverty is a really big challenge, they have a mindset of just give, but they don't see the beauty and the gifts. Yeah. And so talk about some of the gifts that you're seeing in your community that young people are demonstrating.
Yeah, and for us, it's really important that we don't give, but that we teach, that we empower. Because I can give you something and I can even give you an answer. But if you don't have that self-discovery for yourself, there's not going to be the conviction of, I know this to be true. And it's the same thing we feel like when it comes to empowering a young person to understand that you've got the gift, you've got the intelligence, you've got the brilliance, you've got the ability. You might have to take some time to develop it, but you have it. Ms. B did that for me, and we do that for the young people at One Voice, One Team, and we allow them to have the opportunity. And I'll just say this, we allow them to have the opportunity to grow, but it does take a lot of grace as well, because the Gen Z, and I'm just using that as an example, their perspective is different than someone like me, Gen X. We've got different perspectives on things. And so because of that, they teach us a lot, but then we teach them a lot. And if they're that openness is there for that exchange to happen, now we can grow. So when it comes to giving, what we give is insight. What we give is leadership principles. What we give is, this is how it's done. And then we say, now let's create the opportunity for you to practice that. That's one of the main things within One Voice, One Team. Our business model is not just to teach and then say, see you later. It's teach, and then we're going to create an opportunity where you can just practically apply what you've just learned. So then you can have that self-efficacy. I can do this. I am a leader. I didn't know I had all of these gifts within me. And all of a sudden the light bulb goes on, the light in their eyes starts to light up, and they actually realize that they can be not just people within community, but global citizens. Now they see beyond. Now they want to pay it forward. That's why young people come and they're part of our summer camp or part of our program, and then they come back and volunteer. And then they come back and want to work with us because they recognize that there's more to give.
So when you get that gift, you learn the lesson. I guess I say theoretically, the ultimate sort of when it really gets anchored in your soul is when you teach it.
Yes.
And so talk about what you're seeing in terms of your organization when young people are giving their gift. What do you see? What's happening?
Yeah, there's an amazing exchange that happens when a young person recognizes that they have something to give. Like there is a pride that goes along with it, but also this responsibility of, I have to share this with you. I can't keep it to myself. Our staff as well is, and our team, we don't call them staff, we call them team or fam. But our fam is always about, okay, so now I've got to teach this young person, but I've also got to give them the grace that I was given. So there's this, I got to teach you, but I also have to be patient and gracious with you, like so-and-so was gracious and patient with me. And so we see that, I know this person's not getting it right now, but we're going to give you time, and maybe tomorrow. I'll give you an example. And one of the young people came through our summer camp this year. He's having a hard time. There was things that were going on at home, and he was taking it out on some other kids at the summer camp. Our staff pulled him aside, and it was like, this is not very SWOLE. Our program is called SWOLE, or Summer Camp is Self-Respect, Work Hard, Overcome Adversity, Lead by Example, Excellence. So it's an acronym, right?
Crazy.
And we just every single day, it's one of those characteristics that we're going to kind of zone in on. And so we're like saying to him, like, you're not really touching that self-respect right there. It doesn't seem like it's something that you're amplifying. Why is that? And so he kept on saying, well, I deserve respect. I deserve respect. And we were showing, our staff was saying, or our family was saying, yeah, you definitely do deserve respect. But, it starts with you. It starts with you. That's where respect starts. So if you want it from someone else, you're going to have to be able to hone in on it for yourself and then give it. That's how it works. And then you'll get it back. Well, what happens when I don't give it back? Well, then you have grace, just like how we're having grace with you right now. So I think what we see amongst our team is grace, patience, out of the box thinking. What can we do with this young man? Okay, you know what? He can't be in this particular game, but he could be a leader with me. I need you to assist me. Come with me. And so we'll look for out of the box ways to not allow them to feel like they need to be pulled out or away from people. Just position differently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think of, I guess the definition of grace is unearned merit.
Yes.
Which I just think is such a radical thing in this day and age, where
Crazy.
you get something you don't deserve.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, how do kids receive that grace? How does that feel for kids?
Yeah, honestly, we've seen it in so many different modalities and so many different ways, but I'll say one of the ways that it shows up is they feel safe. They feel seen. When grace has been given and they don't feel like they've deserved it, like I know I don't deserve it, all of a sudden their head lifts up. I've seen it. I've seen the head go from down here and the eyes down here to, it's okay, we're going to give you another chance. And the eyes are, and the face lifts up like, you're going to give me another chance? Like the shock, right? Mm-hmm. But it allows them to say the things that they wouldn't have said before because they felt like they were being judged. Or they felt like they were going to be punished, or they felt like they were going to be left out. No, you're not going to be left out. You're going to come, but you're going to come and be my assistant today, right? I know how it might feel, but I need you to lead with me today. I need a real leader. Can you lead with me today? Great, come on. And it's like they see themselves from a perspective of, wow, this person's giving me another chance. I got to step up. Yeah. So what happens is these young people, I'm her leader or I'm his leader. I've got to step up, because they're giving me this chance that I didn't deserve. Yeah. So yeah.
I have this distinct recollection of a principal. Actually, I was in grade 8, and I had done another thing, and I was in trouble again. Mm-hmm. And this principal took me into his office, and he started writing on the board. Wow. Chalkboard. Tells you how old I am, right? But you talked about the Black Panthers. I mean, I can't see you knowing any Black Panthers.
I promise you. I have grandchildren. I do.
Okay, so he started writing on the board all of the incidents I had been involved in, and he had all these things I had done, and then he stopped, and he looked at me and he said, "Kent," he said, "you are a leader, but look at the direction you're leading in."
Oh wow!
And he just showed me, and it was kind of, again, for me, it was that somebody saw something in me that I did not see in myself. Like the idea of leader, that was kind of like an affront to the. I guess I'd never thought of it. Yeah, I was leading in a very bad direction, mm-hmm. and so what I'm hearing in what your organization is doing is that you have eyes that see in youth what they don't see in themselves.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I think that's one of, if we were to call it a secret sauce, that's one of the things that One Voice, One Team is known for. That we never give up on anyone, first and foremostly, because everyone has a story. It's important for us to know what your story is and not presume that we know it. Right? Yeah. There's never going to be a label that we put on you. I don't care where you come from, or if you're from this part of town or that. Oh, they're from, like when I grew up in Toronto. Oh, you're from Jungle. Like that was like a low income area, you know. So therefore, it's looked upon a certain way. If you come from this part of town, you probably are like this. And so we don't look at every young person that comes in. You're a gift.
I have, over my 39 years doing this, I have learned something that I think maps onto what you're talking about. Kind of just a one-liner that I often talk to my staff early on when they're starting with us as a part of their orientation. Mm-hmm. I say you can never judge a person's future based on their present circumstances.
100%.
We've seen so often, you know, and just to kind of play that out, we see that sometimes a kid looks like I don't think they're going to make it. Mm-hmm. I think they may die of an overdose. They may, they may
give up.
Things they're caught up in.
Yes.
It just may not work,
yes.
And then we're proven wrong.
Yep.
And then sometimes you see a kid who's on a good path,
yep.
and suddenly the path turns, and they find themselves caught up in things. But there's something you can kind of hold things in a healthier way mm-hmm. when you realize that you can just give this grace.
Yeah.
You can give these opportunities, knowing that you're not really in control of where it goes.
Yeah.
But you can have a heart that really wants the best for you.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a liberty in working with youth when you realize that, you know what, you have no idea. It looks really dark today.
Yeah.
But you have no idea what can happen in that kid's life.
And I think, I love that, and I love that perspective. I completely agree. I think that the other thing is a lot of the young people, especially today, don't have conversations filled with hope.
Right.
That's another thing. That's like they've got a lot of negative conversations. They've got a lot of, I've got anxiety. I've got a mental health issue. And those things are real. So we're not going to belittle them. But along with that, there are some other things that we can look at as well. And so one of the things I always say, especially in that moment where Miss B kept on saying those three things to me, like I was crushed that my mother didn't come with me. I felt very unworthy. I felt very uncared for, not valued. But yet she kept on looking at me, saying things, pouring into me in that moment of feeling zero, feeling very low, that made me feel like, should I be feeling low? It made me question even the emotions that I had. And so after we got the standing ovation, here I was feeling elation, feeling joy, feeling shocked as well, because I'd never had a standing ovation. But that was simultaneously and in tandem with feeling unworthy, feeling low. And so I always ask, when sharing this story with young people, I always ask the question, in that moment, do you think that all of the bad feelings went away? And a lot of times young people are like, yes, you felt. And I'm like, nope, they were right there. But alongside them now was something to counter those feelings. And I feel like that's one of the mission statements for One Voice, One Team. Like, we're going to talk to you and help you to see that we believe in what we see in you. Now, you might not necessarily believe in it because not a lot of people have spoken a lot of hope into your life, and that counter conversation hasn't happened. But we've got a new conversation for you that we want you to consider.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talk to a lot of people that listen to our podcast. They may be dealing with a kid who's caught up in the throes of addiction, caught up in this really dark place. And so kind of this sister, what was her name? Sister McNamara. She talked a little bit about the idea of seeing the good. So when you're working in a context where there's lots of challenges,
yes,
how do you get those eyes? You have eyes that can see the good.
Yeah.
Talk to our listeners who are maybe dealing with a kid who's really in a dark space.
Yeah.
How do they get those eyes so that they can see the good?
I think first and foremostly, I'm going to go back to what we kind of found our organization on, Ubuntu. I am because we are. I am human because we are having a human experience. I think going back, if I was speaking to anyone that's dealing with young people and having challenges, remember how you were when you were a child, right? Remember when you were in a challenging situation and you wanted someone to see you, right? Put yourself there for a moment. What did they have to say? What was done or said to you to allow you to truly feel seen and heard? So that's the first thing I would say. And then the other thing I would say is go beyond the moment. Like when you're having a moment with a young person and they're going off or they're going down a spiral, a dark moment for themselves, and it's hard for them to get themselves out. You don't have to save them, but giving a different perspective than just the perspective that they have. Go beyond just the moment and say things like, I hear you, but just dream with me for a minute or imagine with me for a minute. What if it wasn't as bad as it feels right now? What would that look like?
Yeah, I love that. This is kind of a twisted way of thinking about it, but I sometimes ask people to doubt themselves.
Yes.
That sounds counterintuitive, but what I'm
it.
saying is when we get into these dark spaces, sometimes we need somebody else to call out of us. Like our judgment about where we are is wrong. And I distinctly remember personally having a group of guys that I've had breakfast with every Friday. We've missed a few for the last, it's over 20 years now.
Wow.
And I was in a dark space and I was like kind of lamenting things and going like, it's just feeling so discouraged about life. Mm-hmm. And I needed them to tell me, you're not judging this right. Like they had to show me, look at the progress you've made, and pointed out kind of the areas in my life where they'd seen progress. And I'm like, so that's, it's kind of a little bit of what I'm hearing. Yeah. It's like, how can we help young people today to say, see the good themselves, to question, maybe your perspective, maybe there is a brighter future. Yeah. How do we do that, Sherri?
Yeah. I think it's really truly again, like I always say, get beyond the moment. Don't get stuck in the moment in what they're saying and doing. But then also, I think there is a level of discernment. I'm going to use that word. Like being able to not just see or hear, but also feel, right? When it comes to young people, everything is about feelings. All the feels. I'm feeling all the feels. Okay. I often say feelings are real, but they often lie. They often lie. So, and they come and they go, right? But the truth is something that's stable and remains. So let me tell you the truth about you, and then I'll go into what I truly see about that person that has nothing to do with the moment, right?
I sometimes think about the idea of sometimes you hear youth talk about not being able to go to that good place because they don't have they just don't feel like going there.
Yes.
And so I encourage young people to act their way into feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even want to you don't even want to get out of bed. But if you get out of bed, you might act your way into feeling differently about your day.
1,000%.
And so, okay, let's this is going really well. We're really hitting it. This is great, Sherri.
Organically.
We're kind of on a roll. So we touched a little bit in our 9-minute conversation prior to this about this cultural moment.
Oh, yes.
And what moment are we in? What moment are youth, our young people in right now? Are you able to get some body to that? There's
a lot that young people are going through. I touched on it a little bit. Mental health has changed the landscape of how they see themselves. So it's and I don't want to take away from the fact that having a mental health illness or having a mental illness is not something to take seriously. But I do believe there are times, I'll give an example. We went to a school and we were speaking to high schoolers, grade 9 to 12. And we're a very positive group. When we go into schools and we do assemblies, workshops, it's always the glass is half full. We always see, again, I'm going to see you beyond this moment. I'm going to see the truth about you. And we're going to celebrate that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to imagine it. We're going to all of that. These young people said, you guys are strange.
Oh, really?
They said we're strange. And they said we're strange because in their school, it's weird to not have anxiety or depression or mental illness of personality disorder. It's weird to not have that. If you don't have something to lament on or be upset about or whatever, you seem like the odd one out. Why are you so positive? Why are you so happy? So that's something that I feel is challenging.
We're incentivizing negative sort of thoughts about life?
Yeah.
Is that?
And making it seem like as if it's almost cool, like an in thing to have something that you can say, this is my ailment, as opposed to this is my strength or these are my talents and gifts. Yeah.
Identity linked to ailment.
Yes.
So what are you talking about? Identity should be linked to
true purpose and who you truly are. And it goes back to your authentic self, right? I think us being able to allow them to discover who they truly are, not who are trying to mold themselves into being so that they're accepted by a group, but who are you innately? Who are you truly? Like when you're by yourself, what really makes you happy? What makes you light up? What drives you? What do you see yourself doing if I put no dollar amount to it and you get up tomorrow and you could do this thing for free, it would bring you so much joy? What would that be? And so when we have these conversations with young people, you start seeing eyes light up, light bulbs turn on. And for some people, for some young people, it's like, yeah, I don't know why I'm being such a Debbie Downer. I don't know why I'm looking at things like that. I guess I'm just used to speaking to my friends like this. So that's one thing that I can say within the cultural landscape of young people right now, that they're putting their identity with an ailment for acceptance. And I feel like that's going down the wrong path, because what that's doing is saying, I need medication or I need therapy. And I'm all for therapy, by the way. Jesus and therapy is a great thing. Bring it together. Bring it together. It's wonderful. I'm a big proponent of that. But I don't think that's something that we all have to have medication or we all have to have a psychiatric evaluation. I think that there are times where we can just sit back and say, what makes me happy? Where does true joy come from? From me. I'm gifted. That's not conceited. I've got gifts that I've been given. God gave me these gifts. I'm going to use these gifts because it makes other people happy and it serves other people and it fills me up as well. So all of those things can happen simultaneously. Why am I shortchanging myself just to be involved in a group that are not affirming me? Actually, they're pulling me further down. So I'm so concerned about the mental state of our young people. But then that's the other thing is education. I feel like that's another thing that young people are not. I think we as a society need to take more seriously the fact that some young people are not, they're slipping through the cracks. They're not being, it's not being taken seriously that they're not coming to class. It's not being taken seriously that they're not coming to school. Can we find them? Where are they? If they're not in class and you only, instead of a class of 20 or 30, you only have 5 or 7, can we find the other 14? Where are they?
Oh, my goodness. This is another whole podcast. We're about to be launching a documentary about the topic of absenteeism. And hopefully this goes out after we actually do that press release. But you're right. So many kids are lost.
Yeah.
Lost sense of purpose.
Yes.
Lost sense of meaning. And literally lost.
Yeah. Literally.
Talk about Toronto, what you're seeing in terms of kids that have just sort of dipped out of education and given up.
Yeah, we see it all the time. They themselves don't value the purpose and the place of education within their lives. They don't see the value. And sometimes it's because, yes, you're growing up in poverty and you see the struggle, so you feel like I need to go get money right now because my single parent is struggling and working all of this, time away from me. So let me go and help. There's older child syndrome. There's a lot of things happening in that way as well. So kids are going out and doing things a lot younger. But I feel like us as a society, they just don't understand the value of being in a classroom and self-regulating and being on time and understanding how to problem solve or resolve conflict, right? That's stuff that's going to happen in life that you're going to need skill sets for. Mm-hmm. And if you don't learn it, and school is not, you can learn your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. That's great. But you can do that on YouTube now, really and truly. You could go to the library and find a book, if they still have books in libraries now, because everything's online, right? But you can teach yourself a math quotient. You know what I mean? You can teach yourself how to read. You can hear things phonetically online. Really and truly, what we need education for is to understand what belonging feels like, how to be a part of a club or a group, how to work with other people that you might not necessarily like. Because work in the real world, whether you're an entrepreneur and you have your own team or whether you work for somebody, you're going to have to deal with other personalities. And so if all you're doing is just like, I don't want to go to school because I don't like this teacher and I don't like these people, I'm not going to go to school, then how are you going to build those skill sets that are going to actually you're going to need this later on. And so I feel like that education, I can go on and on about this, but like education and where it is, we need to be able to say, no, this is important for you. And parents need to, but I know that sometimes parents feel like, listen, I'm just trying to make ends meet. And I grew up with a single parent, so I understand. And she had addictions as well for a very long time. So she wasn't able to she didn't expect me to even finish high school, right? When I got my high school graduation diploma, she was just like, oh, wow. Right? For her, it was like, oh, wow. Okay, good for you.
Surprised to see it.
Surprised, right? And I understand because I was out there for a little while. Mm-hmm. I was out there. Sometimes I'd go to school, sometimes I wouldn't. But then I started seeing certain people go down a particular path, and I was like, I'm not trying to go down that path. I don't want to be in jail. I don't want to have a child at a young age. I don't want to be continually on the street trying to get over on people or hurt people to get money. I don't want to live like that. But I feel like our young people feel like that's the only way we're going to be able to survive. And so getting out of survival mode and helping young people transition from surviving to what it feels like to thrive, I think that's our goal. It's got to be our goal.
Sherri, I don't know whether I'm hearing this right, but it sounds like there's this old saying that some things are as old as they are new. Mm. And you're talking about personal responsibility. It sounds like, Sherri. Talk about that.
Yeah. It's important for us to be able to say, I have a stake within my future and what's going to happen to me. I'm not going to just leave it up to chance. I'm not going to just leave it up to a group of people to choose for me. I need to say, I want to do something. And I think that that's the other thing that we were talking about earlier, purpose. If you don't necessarily feel like there's something for you to focus on, there's no goal, there's no purpose, I'm purposeless, I don't have any gifts, I don't have any talents, well, then what am I working for? So I'll just slip through the cracks and nobody's going to think about me, or I'm not going to be missed or anything like that. But when you start feeling like, no, I've got a gift to actually nurture. I've got something here that I don't really know where it's going to go, really. I don't even know if there's a job out there for me, but I feel like there's something. Miss B did that for me. When she showed me that I could memorize and then recite something in front of people, I was like, wait a minute. I didn't even know I could do it. What, they're clapping for me? Wait a minute. And I started getting addicted to poetry. I started reading.
Love it.
I started writing. Everything was a story for me. I looked at life differently. I was only 8, right? I was in grade 3. But I looked at life differently. And now there was purpose for me to read. So now there was a reason why I wanted to write. There was purpose behind it. That personal responsibility has got to be connected to that purpose. Because if not, they're not going to feel like it's their responsibility to nurture that gift that they've got inside, but they've got to be able to see it. And that's One Voice, One Team. That's what we're about. Look, there's a gift right here. You don't see it, but I'm going to be the mirror for you so you can see it. Do you see it now? Oh, okay, now you see it. Great. Now I'm going to give you an opportunity for you to use that gift. Here you go. Oh, you made a mistake. It's okay. I've got some grace. I've got some patience for you. Try it again. Try it again.
It's sort of the message of helping youth to see that they have agency.
Yes.
That maybe they are the person they've been waiting for.
Come on.
You know? That
Yes.
maybe they're the ones that have kind of
Yes.
the power of the future in their hands.
Yeah, be the change.
Sherri, I think this is amazing that we met.
Yeah.
We met just today, and we were riffing right away. And here, it's just been wonderful to talk to you.
Thank
To hear
you.
about your life, to hear
Yes.
about the work of your organization and the wonderful things they're doing. Tell us where our listeners can learn more about
Voice, One Team.
One Voice, One Team. Where can they go to find out about
So
you?
onevoiceoneteam.org. You absolutely can find us there, on Instagram. We're on TikTok. One Voice, One Team. It all spelled out in letters. We're on. We have galas. We have things in Toronto, but also here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We've got our summer camps. So there's a lot of things that we've got going on. We have a Grit to Great program where we're taking marginalized youth or youth period that just want to not necessarily go to college or university, but they just want to work. So we're going to give you employability skills, and then we're going to place you, right? So there's a lot of different things that we've got going on. But yeah, onevoiceoneteam.org on Instagram, as well as on TikTok, on YouTube as well. We hope to see you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, well, I'll say Inner City Youth Alive, you might think, what are we doing going or interviewing another organization that could be competing? But you know what? We may as well be called One Voice, One Team.
Come on.
Because where we see organizations that are making a difference in the lives of our youth, we just want more of it.
Yeah.
And so we bless what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And we love how it maps onto what we're doing.
Yes.
And we'll come together as one voice and one team.
Yeah.
And somehow Inner City Youth Alive and your wonderful work, if we can find a way to do
partner.
things together,
Yes.
and for the well-being of the kids.
Yeah.
And thank you for how you have taken your story, which is hard and could have been a sad story.
Yeah.
And you've made it into a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Sherri, for that, we're thankful.
Thank you.
And thank you for the time and
Thank
for the
you so
opportunity to
much.
share together.
Thank you so much, Kent.
Blessings on
I want to say first and foremostly, I heard about Inner City Youth Alive and said I had to come and see. I heard so many wonderful things that you guys are doing, and I was like, I had to come and see you guys. Being here has been such a blessing. Thank you for all that you've done for the last 40 years. You're appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks for tuning in to Dangerous Ideas for Social Change.